More people are willing to leave the iPhone than ever before. But why? Because Crapple sucks. That's what you sound like. Want daily tech news in a way that doesn't suck? Of course you do. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Front Page Tech, of course, show that gives you all these tech news from one geek that is me to another that is you. Happy Monday. I have a headache. That is all. It feels like Satan used my skull as a toilet, and I have his shit poop in my head. His fiery shit poop. Okay, news. All right, so first up, story numero uno. Let's talk about Apple, the iPhone, loyalty to said iPhone. It seems more people now, more than ever, are willing to leave the iPhone, make the switch from iPhone to Android. So historically, once somebody has an iPhone, it's harder to convince them to leave that phone. They might really, really love the iPhone and just love it so much that they want another one, or, well, they might get trapped in the ecosystem.
Gotcha, bitch!
But now, according to a survey, according to a report from Bank My Cell, it seems that iPhone retention itself has dropped 15.2%, that's since March of 2018. According to the survey conducted, 26 of the people that they surveyed were trading in their iPhone 10 and switching to a different brand, whereas like 7.7% of Galaxy S9 owners were trading in their phones for iPhones. And that remaining 92.3%, well, it wasn't exactly stating that they were excited to go back to another Samsung phone, just that they weren't going to an iPhone, so their next phone was going to be an Android device. But with all of this stuff, I think we should specifically look at brand loyalty. Currently, according to the report, iPhone loyalty is at 73%, which, hang on, let's not get this confused. That is a really, really high percentage. That's a really good percentage in terms of like someone being loyal to the brand, 73% of those people willing to go back and use another iPhone for their next device. That's really, really high and more than most brands can say. So let's not brush over that part. The interesting thing, however, is that just back in 2017, that iPhone loyalty with the same report, the same survey, was at 92% of a retention rate. So 92% now is at 73%. Now look, listen, Apple still sells a ton of iPhones. They are not in trouble. This is not the beginning of the end. I just think it's a pretty interesting statistic. Now, my question that I'm going to give to you is why? Why do you think it is this way? What do you think made it this way? I'll tell you what I think it is. Remember how I said a few times that the market right now, the average consumer, right? The mass market right now does not need innovation. They need compromise. I feel like Apple's doing neither. I feel like they're not innovating and they're also not compromising. So I guess if we look at the iPhone XR, yes, that technically is a compromise, but in terms of their flagships, they're not doing anything. And specifically with this year's iPhone lineup, it's particularly meh. So that retention rate, I believe, will drop even further because like, they're just, what is it? Why? What are we doing? It's the same phone, but now the top is heavier. The top is heavier because it's got bigger square on it. Whoa. Now I get it. Just like every year, the internals will be upgraded. It'll be the fastest phone on the market, just as it is every year. I get that, and that is fine. But again, we have to keep in mind the average consumer, the mass market here. They don't know. They don't give a f. They don't understand any of the stuff inside it, and they don't care to know. All they want is the thing that looks new. That's what they want. And I mean, remember last year when everyone was like, no, the iPhone XR won't outsell the iPhone XS and XS Max. It has a 720p screen. And John was like, no, Jern tried to tell y'all. He said, no, it looks new and it's cheaper. This is what they're gonna buy. The average consumer just doesn't care. And I think that soon here, coming up soon, like right around the corner, we're gonna really start to see Apple hit a hard wall if they don't start to make changes. I think it's starting to become more and more obvious, and we're being able to make less and less excuses for them. And I know some of you would probably argue that that has already been happening for years, but just because you hate them doesn't mean they're not doing great. The issue is I feel like it's going to become more and more obvious, and we're going to be able to make less and less excuses for them. Johnny Ive's leaving, and like, I know Johnny's going to still work with them, but like, he's been phoning it in for years, and it's really starting to show. Okay, next, let's talk about Huawei Lies. They lie a lot. I feel like we already knew that. They lie all the time. They lie in marketing about what sort of pictures their cameras produce on their devices. They lie about benchmarks. They lie, they lie, they lie. Yeah, well, remember the whole ban with the US? When Huawei was in really, really hot water and it looked like Google was pulling Android, Huawei wasn't gonna be able to use Android ever again. That's what it looked like. Huawei came up themselves and said, don't worry, we got a replacement. We've been working on our own OS. It's gonna be great. You know, Wong Mang OS. It was supposed to replace Android. It was gonna be that thing. When they can't ship devices with Android anymore, don't worry, we got our own thing. Don't worry. All right, consumers, people that buy our shit, don't worry, we got this. Yep, well, turns out they didn't got this. Because now they have admitted that, yeah, this was not it. First of all, if it was gonna be the replacement for Android on their devices, it was not even close in that sort of development phase, was not even close to replacing Android. Wasn't ready to ship. In terms of what it's actually capable of, it's missing a lot of what devices these days need to have. It couldn't have competed. It just wouldn't. Instead, it seems to be a system that was designed as a low latency solution for IoT devices. And moreover, it's more for internal use. So, not for you. That was a lie. So if the ban wasn't being lifted and they still couldn't ship with Android, they would be f***ed. Absolutely f***ed. Listen, like I said, Huawei lies a lot about a lot of things, but in this case, what choice did they have? If you owned a company like this, if you owned the company, what would you do, right? If you were absolutely f***ed in front of the world, what would you do? Would you say, oh yeah, world, we're f***ed. We got no chance. Would you say that? No, you would still appear as a threat, be like, oh, you're gonna take it away? Well, that's fine. We had our own thing. We were working on our own thing this whole time and it's almost ready. So we don't even need you. You would do that. Because then Google turned around to the US. Google was warning the government that, hey, if we take this away, they could possibly be a bigger threat to the US. By not working with US companies, they could just make their own thing and be a powerhouse of their own. That totally worked. The ban is being lifted and ta-da. Less f***ed. Good job, Huawei. All right, so last up, Google Pixel 4. A few weeks ago, like a couple weeks ago, when people were asking what the front of the Google Pixel 4 looked like, after Google pretty much verified what the back of the device look like. After Google verified what the back of the device is going to look like, people were wondering what the front is going to look like. Asking if it was going to be a hole punch or what it was, a notch maybe. And I said, no, going to have a forehead. And now we have confirmation. I knew. You have better confirmation of that. So front panels of the Google Pixel 4, Pixel 4 XL, they look the same. They look like this. Up here, you can obviously not only see openings for camera, but also all sorts of sensors, really. That's where Project Soli comes into play, which uses radar to be able to detect motion. Along with this, Steve from OnLeaks, what up, Steve? He went ahead and gave us 5K renders of the Pixel 4 and Pixel 4 XL, and I gotta say, this phone will look much better in black. The white is just not doing it for me. However, I will say it looks much better than last year. Much, 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 much better than last year. Google is playing it very safe this year, which honestly is for the best because they cannot afford to fuck up like they did last year. So that right there is accurate. That is exactly what the third prototype looked like that I saw, though the one that I saw was black. It wasn't white, and I'm not a fan of the white one, but that is accurate. So Steve, nailed it. And that's the show. Hopefully you liked it, you learned something. If you did, hit that like button. If you hate my stupid face, hit the dislike button. If you're new here, subscribe, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.